All right, good evening, everybody. I can see a few of you. So I can see people coming in and people joining us as we go. Um, my name is Reverend Alan Moss. I can see a few faces there that I recognise already, which is good. And I'm a final year or just finishing my curacy based in Romford, for those of you who know it, right on the outskirts of London and border of Essex. And tonight I'm just leading us through the session. And if you signed up, I'm guessing you know what we're talking about tonight. We're going to be looking at the nuts and bolts of things like websites and Mailchimp and WhatsApp and all those kind of exciting things. But my job, more my role really, is just to sort of lead us through a little bit. We're going to have an opportunity to hear from some guest speakers, but just to point out, there's a few people who you may have seen if you've been on our webinars before. Just to make you aware of, we got joined by Tom Geldard, who is the mighty and fierce leader of the Chelmsford Diocesan Communications team, and Tom's going to be sort of pitching all the questions and stuff like that and looking after our technology this evening. So if anything goes wrong, I'm not going to say whose fault it is, but I've just mentioned it. We're also joined by James Cottis, who's going to be sharing a little bit with us tonight about ways to utilise things like Mailchimp and also some instruction around building websites and content, all those kind of things. And James is extremely gifted at that kind of stuff, so we're looking forward to that. And then we're also joined by Emma Anderton from St John's and St James in Collier Road, but she's also she might have to correct me on this. I think the youth and children's I don't know. Would you say not minister? Is it advisor?
Missioner. Missioner.
Missioner. In fact, I knew there was a posh, fancy Church of England word for it, and I just couldn't quite get there. But there it is. Yeah, missioner. So Emma's going to be sharing a little bit with us as well tonight. And then we're also joined by Nick Wright, who's going to be sharing about some of the really cool and innovative stuff. I think he's based in Loughton. Well, he's going to sort of share more with us about what they've been doing through the pandemic in terms of WhatsApp and stuff. So hopefully it's going to be, well, not hopefully, it will be a good night. And just a sort of a few ground, well, a few practicalities, I guess, throughout the session. In terms of the actual talk itself, or the webinar itself, it is being recorded. So if you don't want to be on screen or you don't want your face to appear, because these sessions are, like we say, recorded and then uploaded to our YouTube channel so people can watch at another time. So if for some reason you don't want to be seen on screen, feel free to just turn your camera off, or if you make it known to Tom or me or one of us that you know you'd rather not be seen on the recording, then just let us know and we can work out if you do speak, then we can edit that out. But I think the way it works is that you should only really show up on the screen if you're spotlighted or if you end up asking a question or anything. So that's just something to bear in mind. We've muted you all on entry for good reason. We've got the old dodgy phone rings going off in the background or dogs barking or whatever it may be. So if we're going to have some plenty of time for questions, a bit of Q&A after each little section. So if you do want to ask a question, then just make it known. Tom will be monitoring. So if you want to physically raise your hand or do the little hand emoji or whatever it may be, and then we'll come to you and you can ask your question then. So a little look. And also we've got the comment section or the chat section. I'm sure you're all very familiar with Zoom by now, but if you do want to again ask a question in there, you can put that and we'll be keeping an eye on that as well, just to, some people prefer that. And the other thing to say is that at the bottom, you'll see, I think our capture or our subtitles, our closed caption section is working. So if you do need that, you should be able to go to your Zoom toolbar at the bottom, and you should be able to access show subtitle and turn them off if that's what you need. And obviously the caveat with that is 9 times out of 10, it will get things right. But when you've got a dodgy accent like me, you might get some dodgy words come up because they don't quite understand. So just be aware of that. But I think that is all you need to know. in case of a fire, run out your front door. Other than that, I'm going to hand over to James.
Good evening. Yes, so I'm going to speak this evening, about Mailchimp first of all, and we'll take some Q&As, and then we'll come and have a look at websites as well. So I'm just going to share my screen, if I can. Where's that gone? Hang on. Doesn't want to share. Hang on. Okay, can everyone see the screen there? Brilliant, I've got some thumbs up in there, so that's working great. Okay, let's lost that now. Right, so first of all, what is Mailchimp and why should we be using Mailchimp? So Mailchimp is a free-to-use it's a free-to-use platform. Basically allows you to send HTML emails out to people. What it's designed to do is same as your normal email, but regarding Mailchimp, what you can do is you can customize an email, so you can set it up, you can design it, you can schedule them to go out, and then once the emails have gone out, you can obviously then see lots of reports as well of who's opened it, and what links they've clicked on as well. So that can also be sometimes helpful in regards to sending things. My screen has gone funny. Can you see that at all? Can you see my screen?
We can't at the moment, James.
I don't know what's going on. Sorry, just give me a sec.
We could before, by the way.
I don't know why it's not allowing me. Try and open up that again. Sorry.
So these are see, this is the good bit, because this is where you see the inner workings of the Zoom. You see, this is this could happen to anybody, people. Just be aware. I see a few nodding heads as well. People are like, yeah, I've been there.
How's that? Can you see that again?
Yeah.
Okay, let's try with that one. Okay, so Mailchimp, as I spoke about, so it's a free platform to use. There's lots of different other options and stuff as well you can use. There's things like Campaign Monitor as well, but Mailchimp is is the probably most commonly used. It also offers a free plan, so for churches, that's probably one of the best reasons that you can use it, because it doesn't cost you anything to send out as well. It allows up to free 2,000 contacts and 10,000 emails to send a month, with a daily limit of sort of 2,000. So should pretty much cover most of our church needs and stuff, sending emails out. And like I said before, one of the nice things about it is obviously the detailed report. So this is a kind of a screenshot of an email that's gone out on a campaign. So once the email's gone out, you can obviously then see what links, as you click into each of the campaigns, and then you can see what links people have been clicking on, what's getting their interest, and how it's engaging. With a Mailchimp, there's a few kind of terms to be kind of aware of. So these are the main four. Audience is probably the first one. So your audience is everyone who's subscribed to receive your email. So what I'd recommend is having kind of one audience, and then from that you can then divide that down. So everyone who subscribes to receive your emails, or so all the members of your church, and hopefully people from outside the church can subscribe, and they're an audience. Mailchimp can allow multiple audiences, but for simplicity, I'd recommend just having one audience that you can then use segments and tags and groups to kind of break that down to. So what segment tags and groups are is basically a way of filtering down. So for example, in my church, one of the ways we do it, we have one audience which has everyone in, and then we're using tags and segments to break that down. So we have a segment for everyone who's maybe a church member. We have one for the PCC. So we can then break those down. So when you send your emails, what you can then do is you can go to send email and you can choose which segment you want it to, because it may be that you've got an email, your Sunday email might want to go to everyone, but you may want an email that's just general information. Let's say, for example, a funeral. One example from my church this week was that we wanted to send an email out of someone, a funeral of one of the members of the church. Obviously didn't want that to go to everyone on our mailing list, but obviously what we can then do is we can send that down to just the church family. So that's we can use the segments. A campaign is basically each email. Each email is known as a campaign. So that's what that is. And templates, it is what it says. So with each of your emails, you can create templates within the system. And what you can then do is you can choose a template and obviously you can go through from there. So what I'm going to do is go through, this is basic for one of the basic templates you've got in there. What I will do is do a very quick demo. So hopefully if my screen is now going to behave itself, I'm just going to share a proportion of my screen here. And hopefully you can see this one. Hopefully I can see I've got thumbs up. So it is now working. So this is the template we've set up just for my church. And what we can then do, so this is one of our Sunday emails that goes out. So each Saturday, I basically put the service details on. This is obviously predominantly at the moment we have obviously with all the online streaming, but obviously when we go back to church, we'll obviously use it as well still going forward. So we put a welcome message in the top, and then so this is just a basic welcome message from the church warden or the minister, and we kind of rotate that around, and we just have a Bible verse of this has been going on each week sort of thing. We then have details of the Sunday service. Ignore the kind of chameleon there. That's just a holding image. We then just replace that with an image that's relevant to the readings we have. And then here we have the Zoom details. So this is kind of a template that's kind of been set up. And then what it allows us to do is kind of go and edit very quickly, which I'll just show in a second. Obviously, nice big button for the link for the Zoom session. And then what under here, we have notices as well. So this is kind of a standard notice we have here at the moment. And then what we can then do is we can just add stuff to it. So if I just show you how easy it is to edit, I've kind of missed out a few steps. There's loads of training videos on Mailchimp and on YouTube and stuff on how to use it. So I'm not going to kind of cover all that now, just in the time limits. But what I do is I sort of show you very quickly how once you've kind of got a template set up, you can then just obviously grab that and send your email out on a weekly basis. So let's say I've got my email, I've got my header and stuff here. So this is our message and stuff here. So I can click in this box, and then what I can do is I can add my message in here. So this is weekly message, for example. So I can do that, and then I can just obviously hit save. And this updates it. I don't know if you saw that, it updates it in real time there. Obviously got my details. I can add my Zoom links and stuff in. So if I've got my Zoom link, it's going to our church website at the moment, but what I can do is I can obviously paste my Zoom link in there. So when someone clicks on that, that'll take them straight to the Zoom session, the links and stuff. Same as what you've got in the links and stuff for this session. All I'm doing is I'm just having a massive red button for people to click on. Okay, the other thing I wanted to show, if I save that, is with each of the sections, we also put notices in ours as well. So maybe what's going on. So let's say this week's had details of the Ash Wednesday service. So what I can do is I can drag content in as well. So this is our basic template. So we've kind of got things on there that we can use. But what I actually want to do is I want to include a story. So with those, these are all the things I can have. So I can say, well, I actually want the text. I want a nice text box. So I can drag a text box in here. I can drop it in there. And then I can put details of my Ash. So again, I can put details and stuff of that and hit save that. So I can fill that out as I need to there. I can also add images as well. So I can drag images and stuff in here. So that comes in there. And then I can upload images. I can drag and drop images from my desktop as well. If I upload not upload an image, sorry, let's grab, yeah, pancake one there, perfect. So if I insert that, that was obviously for our Shrove Tuesday thing there. But I can drag an image in, obviously we can put images in. So that's very quickly, you can see how you can build an email out. You don't need any coding knowledge. You can just drag and drop things and you can kind of play around with it and get it sort of that works for you. Once you're kind of happy with that, you can then click on preview and I can enter preview mode. And this will show me what my email looks like. So I've got my details and stuff here. I've got my image and stuff I've uploaded. I've got details about my Ash Wednesday service with a picture of a pancake, as you do. But I've got my links and I can check all those are working as well. You can obviously check it as well on a mobile device. This is what it looks like on a mobile device. So when someone opens it up on their phone, this is how they'll look at it as well. And the other thing you can also do is you can send yourself a test email as well. So before you even send it, you can click on send a test email, and then I can put my email address in. It will send me a test email. I can check I'm happy with it before kind of going forward to actually push it out there. Get rid of that. The other things I can also do, so once that's ready, I can then just hit continue, and then it'll ask me, are you ready to send it? And obviously I can fill the details in here. So this is given a very quick overview here, but that's kind of obviously our details, our subscribers. We can put who the emails from as well. And we can put a subject in there as well. Just going to stop my share screen now. So that was a very flyby, although slightly held up with the lack of screen kind of working there. But does anyone have any questions about Mailchimp? I can kind of answer a few things now, but if anyone's got any questions, do you want to raise their hand or put a message in the box?
Okay, we've got a question from Linda, James.
Yeah.
Yes, I think I've missed some of the sessions, and I'm totally unfamiliar with Mailchimp. And do we just download it as an app?
No, sorry, I should have said that. Mailchimp is all online, so it's all done through a browser. So all you'll need to do is go to mailchimp.com and you'll need to sign up for an account. So the accounts are free. So if I go to, if I log out here, log out, I share my screen. So what you'll need to do is if you go to mailchimp.com, and basically you can pick a plan, you can ignore this. All you'll need to do is just go sign up for free. You put your email address in, put a username and password in, and it will sign you up. And then once you're signed up, it will take you into the screen and away you go. And then what you'll need to then do is just obviously create campaigns and play around with it. One of the first things it might be worth doing is actually just playing around with it and sending yourself a test email. It's not going to cost you anything. You can send the test emails just to a couple of people. You can check you're happy with your templates. But what the point I'm trying to get across is once it's set up, it's very easy to kind of go through and add in. One of the things you'll also want to do is once it is set up is then obviously let your church members know. And with Mailchimp, what you get is you have a sign up form. So it allows you it'll give you a unique link for you to share with people. And then what it can then do is you can add, people can sign up to it. So one thing I would say is, so I think that's one of the slides that missed, was when you get people to sign up is they can sign up on the form and then it misses all the kind of GDPR. It kind of covers all of that for you because you can't just automatically subscribe people because that's now breaking GDPR laws. But what you can do is you can get members of your church to sign up. So they can obviously, you can send that out in an email to them. They can then fill in a form. They just fill their details in and they'll sign up to the form, sign up to Mailchimp already. And then obviously once they've got, they can manage their subscription. So they then go into your audience. So you create an audience, that's what your sign up form works to. And obviously all the emails and stuff will also be sent from there.
Okay.
Thanks, James. I think you've just answered a question that came in from Nick about that and GDPR and email addresses.
Yeah.
We have a question from Rachel, who says, she assumes, but the question is, do you have to have a working website first?
No, not at all. You can actually see, if you haven't got a website, you can use Mailchimp as an email tool, and it's a great tool to use. So I would definitely say you don't need a website. You can obviously get people to sign up straight away. If you've got a Facebook page, for example, there's apps and stuff to link in to automatically allow you to sign up through your Facebook page. So people can then sign up from your Facebook page to your sign up to receive your emails, if that makes sense.
Thank you. And then a question from Joanna. Does Mailchimp autofill names? I presume by that, Joanna, and let me know if we've got this wrong, but do you mean does it put in people's names in the salutation field? Does it say "Dear Joanna," or can it do that?
Yeah, so I think as you saw, it said "Dear test name" and stuff. So what we've got is we've got that. So when you create your sign up form, for example, you might have put the person's first name, put the person's last name, their email address. Those are the three basic ones, let's say. So person's name and email address. And then what you can then do is you can say email, put that person's name, it will say "Dear Joanna." So that person's got a name in there. But you'll also have a fallback as well. So if you haven't got if it hasn't got a name registered, you can say "Dear subscriber" or "Dear friend" or something like that. So you can put the words in that you want to fall back to. But hopefully if people subscribe, they'll put their name in and you can it can personalize it. You can say, so "Dear James," and then obviously it will have the email. So yeah, definitely do that.
Some really good questions coming in here. Just going back to the GDPR issue, Richard's asking, does that mean if a church has already developed a GDPR compliant list, they have to ask people again, or in fact, can you upload an existing email list in if you've got permissions from those people?
If you've got permissions directly from those people. So how we did it in our church was when we did the re-registrations for people to register as members again of the church, one of the elements I put on the form was for people to tick that they wanted to subscribe to the email list, and they're happy to be emailed, basically. So in that respect, yes, you've got permission from them, and they can add to it, so that will cover you. The advantages of using something like Mailchimp is it also has a nice paper trail as well. So you can see when the person's signed up, when they subscribe to, and obviously you've got a kind of a record as well if it ever needs to come out.
Great, thank you. Yeah, and one of the other things, James, I've noticed about Mailchimp, which is really nice, and we use on the diocese's Mailchimp, is you create a web page just for subscribing people, which you can put your own branding on, and it looks very much like your own web page, but it's actually talking right into Mailchimp. So it means all the hard work of managing the list is being done in Mailchimp, but visually it looks like your own website. So that's really nice.
And there's a couple of different ways. You might have visited websites before where they've got a little pop-up kind of pops up sometimes, or you kind of on the website and then it will say, do you want to sign up to our list? All of that data is just going straight down to Mailchimp. So you're not storing that data on your website, it's going into Mailchimp service straight away. It's just iframing it in. Once you're in Mailchimp, there's a whole kind of plethora of kind of options to add those sign up forms, and they're all very straightforward. So once you created your audience and you've got your audience name of church members or church sign up form, for example, once you've got that, there's a little button next to it that says add sign up forms, and there's a whole kind of step-by-step instructions and stuff of how to add those forms and how you want to do it, whether you want it as a web page, whether it was a pop-up. If you have it as a pop-up, it'll give you a little bit of code for you to add to your website.
Great, thank you. I think that's all the questions on email and Mailchimp.
Okay. So if my machine plays ball again, let's try and move on to this one. So hopefully you can see my screen here. So now I'm going to look at talking about websites and stuff for your church as well. So there's a few different options and stuff that you can kind of have for your website. So what I'm going to do is going to go through all the different options, and hopefully that will cover mostly what we need. First of all, a church near you. Going to promote obviously the national church one. For starters, it's free in its very basic form. It's a simplified process. Ideally, or every single church in the UK has one, and you just need to take control of your one. Your minister should have access to it, but you can obviously gain access to it if you need to, and just get in touch with any one of us in the comms department if you need any help with that. And what a church near you will allow you to do is upload your details of your services, any special events, what those sorts of things, and basic details really. I know a national church is looking at developing it to take it on to allow people to build websites. It's not quite there yet, but in its basic form, I think everyone should have their church near you. A second option, so kind of going down and up in cost now, is maybe something like an online builder like Squarespace. There's again a ton of ones out there: Squarespace, Wix, GoDaddy. All these are different options that allow you to basically build a website in its simplest form. What you'll need to do is you can sign up for an account. Squarespace have their ones, I think, around about £10 a month. And what you can then do is you basically sign up for an account. You kind of choose a theme that you like the look of, because I can take that theme. And then it's similar to what Mailchimp was on that previous kind of quick demo I did. You can kind of drag text in, drag the text blocks in, edit the text, change the colors, add your own images, and kind of build yourself a website. But it's all done within a simplified templated system. And then obviously you can just obviously get everything set up. Obviously with the Squarespace, it also includes things like hosting and a domain name and an Ssl certificate, which I'll come on to in a second. The next option up from that would be something like Church Pages or Church Edit. So these are kind of similar to Squarespace in the fact that they are church templated systems for you to kind of sign up for. Again, you're probably looking around about £20 a month for sign up for them of these. And again, it gives you basic kind of church website. You can drag and drop system, allows you to kind of customize. So again, you can choose a theme that you like the look of. You can change the images, change the colors, add your content in, and just obviously move things around with a drag and drop system. Church Edit and Church Pages also have a few more back-end systems as well that might benefit some churches. It might be complete overkill. It depends how sort of detailed you want, but that's another option to look at. And the final option is something like a bespoke design, where in that case you would come to a web designer, someone like myself, for example, and we would discuss the options and stuff with you, what you're sort of looking to do, and how you want to kind of the sort of site to look. And then they would design something bespoke for you, build it, hope and put it into a content management system, and again allow you to edit. So it's more that you're not doing the work, they're doing the work for you, but obviously you get a more bespoke system kind of built around your needs. So those are the kind of the 4 different systems. So Church Near You is obviously free. Something like an online builder like Squarespace will use a templated system. Church Pages and Church Edit is a kind of next step up from that, which is purely targeted towards churches and the kind of running how a church runs, and they've got a bit more insight into that. And then obviously the last will be a bespoke design. Cost for bespoke design, you're probably looking, that's difficult to say, somewhere maybe sort of £1,500 up. Depends on the sort of specifications and the functionality that you're looking for, and into how much the cost would be. Things to kind of consider, kind of when you're looking to build a website, and so you know you want to build one, you've been tasked with that job from the PCC to kind of build the website. What I obviously say is put a team together, because it's kind of more than one person's job. But in the planning and preparation, it's kind of that's going to be key. So no matter what kind of system you go, whether you go for a bespoke design or whether you go for just a simple Squarespace site, the kind of planning and preparation is going to be sort of key to what you want to do. So you want to think about the kind of the functionality you're going to want on it. So are you going to want lots of videos? So if, for example, you're streaming and recording your videos at the moment for your sermons and your talks and stuff on a Sunday, do you want that to be available and stuff on the website, or are you just going to leave it on YouTube or Facebook? If you are going to have it, it might want to be taking a feed in from YouTube and stuff, those sorts of things. You might want to think, do I want a Facebook feed on there? Do I want to have an events calendar? Do I want to have contact forms? All those sorts of things. You just kind of sort of think about what sort of functionality you want. The other thing I'd also say is think about who you're targeting your website to. That might seem like a bit of an obvious question, but one of the things I always kind of sort of look at is think about the kind of user personas. So you want to sort of think about who you're targeting the website for. You know, it's not just everyone, because that's what it is, but that's too broad a term. I would try to take maybe sort of focus on 3 or 4 particular people that you're trying to focus the website on. So where is your church base? What is it you're looking to do? Let's say you're young up and coming, and you're looking to target more younger families, for example, to maybe look at the community and the outreach. So your simple user persona might be, well, my persona of the person I'm looking to target might be a sort of 25-year-old couple, single 25-year-old mother, for example, with a young baby, who's got questions on faith. So how can we looking at sort of targeting her towards thinking about, the kind of children's activities that the church puts on. And then obviously when she comes in, how we can obviously talk to Jesus about that way. You might have people who are more professional and they don't have time and stuff. You can look at user personas for those and sort of things. Are there more kind of evening and offline things? The reasons for the personas. So when you start writing the content and we're looking at putting the pages together, you can come back to your persona and actually saying, well, is that not meeting the person's needs and stuff? Is that page meeting that person's need? And if it's not, how do I adapt it to make sure it does? One thing I'd also say is your church website isn't targeting the people who already come to church. There is to an extent, but people who already come to church know about Jesus and they're already coming to your church. Your church website should be more outward facing, ideally. It needs to be talking to people who someone's moved to the area. They're looking to sort of what type of church are you? If you've got videos of the sort of services you're doing, the activities, does that kind of sort of feel mixing with them? Or it's someone who's new to faith, who's got questions of faith. And okay, is there details on an alpha course, for example, that they can join? So those are sort of things that I definitely sort of say, make sure it's more outwardly facing. With that as well is photography on the site as well. Don't always, if you might have a beautiful old 14th, 15th century church, looks absolutely stunning. That's lovely and that's great. And I would have photos of that, but don't have every single photo on your website of your church. At the end of the day, a church is more than just actually the building, it's the people in it. So I would try and get pictures of the people in there. Obviously, bit difficult at the moment, I know, but maybe people obviously in the services, hopefully when we start to go back into church, there may be sort of photos that we've taken of previous events, but start to use pictures of people who have been in the church and actually the church services. Hopefully when we're back, you might be able to kind of stand at the back sort of thing, get some photos sort of from the back and the side of the worship and the sort of styles of worship you're doing as well. So that's something to consider as well. With all the sites, so obviously, if you go to a templated system, they will probably be a responsive site anyway. But if you go to a bespoke site, one of the things you want to make sure is it's going to be responsive. So a responsive site is a site that responds to the platform that it's on. So for example, if it's a desktop, it'll work on a desktop. If it's an iPhone, it will respond down to the platform it's on. So you want to make sure that, because the majority of your users will be looking from a mobile device. Domain names. So this is what you have, for example, when people type in. So for example, Chelmsford is chelmsford.anglican.org. So you need to buy that domain name. Domain names.com domain names are around about sort of £12 a year, give or take. So we're not talking huge amounts of money. Your website also needs somewhere to sit as well. So this is what the hosting is. So the hosting is just a server. Again, you're looking at somewhere regional about £50 a year. And there's lots of different providers for domain names and hostings. You can buy the whole lot together from them, from people like Crystal Hosting, for example, who, that one of the things they have, that's about £50 a year. And actually they have green servers as well. So they're all energy efficient servers as well. So with the diocese moving more towards kind of being an eco diocese as well, having your website on a green energy proficient server, hosting provider in a data center is a great thing to have. Ssl certificates. So these are just what give you the HTTPS. So sometimes you go to a website and it says it's not secure. That's all these are. So these are just SSL certificates. They're around about £50 a year, and they just give you the HTTPS. If you were doing online transactions, for example, a bank, for example, you have to have these. But obviously most church websites aren't holding that sort of data, but it does just sort of give another level of professionalism. Places like Squarespace include the domain names, the hosting, and the SSL certificates in that £10 a month cost. So again, that's why it's a really good kind of cost and site system to be looking at. The last thing as well is who's going to maintain the website. You've got your website up, it looks great. 6 months down the line, it hasn't been touched, it looks a bit stale. So you need to kind of look at someone who's going to be maintaining that website on a regular basis. I would say this is where kind of putting a team together would help. That you can have a couple of people kind of sort of go in and just maybe update it on a regular basis, new things that are happening in their church, new photos, just kind of keeping a kind of fresh sort of perspective. Okay, does anyone have any questions on that? It's all gone quiet.
Yeah, I don't think we've got any questions at the moment.
Well, we can, I know, Peter, sometimes it takes a bit of time to process things, you know, like you want to ask some questions. So you don't have to wait until the designated time. If you drop any questions that you have as you're thinking into the chat, and then we can come back to it towards the end. Is that right, James?
Yeah, that's fine. And what I'll do as well is I'll drop my email address in there, because I'm aware that I've given a lot of information on Mailchimp and kind of websites and stuff. And if anyone's got any questions, they can just drop me an email, and I'll hopefully answer that.
Smashing. Thanks, mate. Legend. Like I say, you know, any questions, definitely go to James. I do. Just, but if he, yeah, he's the man. He's just, I like to big him up. You know, he needs he needs an ego boost. Look at him. You know, he's
although someone who can't actually get the screen share to work.
Yeah, no, that's right. It just shows you're
we'll
human,
just bypass the amount of Zoom sessions and the kind of training Zoom sessions I'm given, and then I come to it and it doesn't want to know. So yeah, we'll just bypass that one.
To be honest, up until that point, I thought you were immortal. So I'm glad. I'm glad you're just like the rest of us. Now I'm going to hand over to Sarah Newman, who's just we're going to have a little bit of time of thinking about WhatsApp. I know people might have WhatsApp groups and stuff already, or if you don't use them at all, but we're going to have a little bit of an overview, and then we're going to hear from Emma and Nick, who are going to be talking about how they've been utilising WhatsApp in terms of building community and those kind of things in their own churches. So I'll swing over to Sarah.
Right. Hello, as I said, I'm Sarah and I work in the communications team with Tom and the other guys. I'm just going to give a quick overview on WhatsApp, so just bear with me while I share my screen. Track record on this is brilliant. So just if you give me a big nod to say that you can see that, and then we'll see if we can go ahead. So we're going to talk about WhatsApp for your church. So an overview, what is WhatsApp? It's a free app which enables people to message individuals or groups who also have the app. So you can get the app by downloading it from your app store, or you can also use it on your computer. WhatsApp is a very useful tool for churches to stay connected and to share things with whole congregations or smaller groups, and especially at this time when we're not meeting in our church buildings like we normally would. So you could share things like information, thoughts, prayers, but obviously I'll let the guys that are going to be sharing stuff with us talk a bit more about that. So just going through things to consider. WhatsApp has kind of two main features. One is a chat function, which is mainly kind of a group forum where messages are posted to a whole group and everybody can see and respond to those messages. There's a link in there that just tells you how to create a group. Just because of constraints of time, I'm not going to go through how to do it, but there's a link there, and these slides are going to be shared with you after the sessions, so you can kind of catch up with that in your own time if it's something you want to kind of set up for your church. So as I said, messages are posted to the whole group with a group chat. Everyone can see the messages and respond. It's so much more interactive than the broadcast function, which I'll talk a bit more about in a minute. But one of the main things with a group is it does need monitoring. And one of the other things to kind of consider and be aware of is that people's phone numbers are visible. So everybody in that group, regardless of whether you've got them a contact on your phone, or if you know them at all, their phone numbers will be visible. But one of the caveats is the person who sets up the group needs to have the contact in their phone to be able to add them to the group. So that's just a whistle-stop tour of group chats. And I'll just move on now to the broadcast function. So this is like a broadcast list that they call them, that you can set up. And it's literally something you can use to send information to a group of people. So everybody in the list is sent the same individual message. Other recipients in the list can't see each other and don't know who else is in that list. It's more one-way messaging, not as interactive, and the recipients can't respond to the messages. So with this function, there's no monitoring required because people obviously not responding to the messages. But again, the person who sets this list up needs to have their contacts in their phone in order to kind of set it up in the first place. And again, there is a link there to show you how to do it. And you can refer back to that after this session or when you have a bit of spare time, if that's something you want to do for your church. So other things to consider is safeguarding. It's really important, as many of us are now using digital communications in our ministry, to be aware of the safeguarding implications and to follow best practice. With WhatsApp, for example, the minimum age to use WhatsApp is 13, so we can't use that as a way of communicating with people who are younger than that. And there's a link there to some safeguarding advice that's on our digital online church hub. So I would recommend that everyone goes and looks at that and familiarises themselves with the guidance. Obviously, if you've got any questions about it, we're here to help you. And similarly with GDPR, it's important that you gain permission to contact people using WhatsApp. So it's good to gain permission and to be clear of the purpose of any group that you set up, so people know why they're being communicated to in that way, and to also make people aware of like the mobile numbers. Like I said, they're visible to everybody that's in a chat group. So that's obviously something to bear in mind. And so people need to be able to opt in, and there also needs to be able to opt out at any time that they choose. So there's a link there to some data protection advice on our website, which obviously we can email you links after this session too. So now that's enough from me. I know it's a bit of a whistle-stop tour of WhatsApp, so obviously happy to take questions later, or if you've got any others, you can post them into the chat. But I'm just going to pass over to Emma now, who's from Collier Row, and going to talk about using WhatsApp with her family ministry group.
Hi, thanks, Sarah. Yeah, my name's Emma Anderton, and I'm at St James and St John's in Collier Row, Havering Atty Bower. And I also work for the diocese as the Children, Youth and Families Missioner in the Barking area. So at our church, we have a few WhatsApp groups, as Sarah was talking about. You can use different groups for different people. And it's just really helpful to have specific groups for people so that it's relevant for them. And we also found that it prevents the main church chat getting too busy, because there's quite a lot of traffic on that. And it just means that people can miss things at times. So it's helpful just for keeping specific groups up to date and to share information that doesn't need to go to everybody. So things like planning events, sharing resources, and just reminding people of dates of events. I find it really convenient because, you know, something pops into my head that I think, oh, I must remind people about that. My phone's generally around somewhere nearby, so I can just quickly send a message to people to remind them. So it's really easy and convenient to do that. So I just want to talk about the way that we use it with our family groups. We've actually got 2 family WhatsApp groups set up at the moment. So one is for an event that we were running before lockdown, a monthly group that we call Bedtime Prayer. So it's a family gathering. We get together, we pray, we read a Bible story, we sing together. And although it goes out on the main emails and notices, the WhatsApp is just a really good way to just remind that particular group of people that it's happening on this particular date of the month. It goes out on the main WhatsApp as well, but it just means that if they miss it on that main WhatsApp group, or they aren't on that group, then they'll get the specific message which goes to a smaller targeted group. So it's really good for doing that sort of targeted group. I usually send out the Zoom link for them to join, because although we use the same Zoom link every month, obviously people forget where they've put things and can't find it. So I just send out the link every month. It's always good to resend things to people. And the other thing that I can put on it, I can send out a PDF of the liturgy that we use. I've just got that on my phone, and then I can just attach it and send that out as well, and then maybe ask them if they've got any prayer requests that they want to share with the group. It was really useful during Advent as well, because one of the things we did during Advent was people were able to come and collect Christingle packs. So again, it was just a quick WhatsApp message to say, we're at church this morning, we've got Christingle packs for you to collect, and a few families came and collected those packs. And again, it went out in different places, but it's just helpful to just send the message out a few times. And then the other family group that we've got, we have another monthly family group. So we've got another WhatsApp group for more families, the families with children. And this is a family kingdom group that we run on a Saturday morning. And again, it's really helpful to use it as an extra channel of communication for that specific group of parents, of families, just to remind them again that it's happening this week, and to send the Zoom link out. And I can also use it to say, you know, this Saturday you will need to have, and ask them to have some particular materials, papers, pencils, whatever they need, so that we can then, we're doing it on Zoom obviously at the moment, so they can have the materials that they need to do an activity together. So again, it's just like reminding them this is what you'll need, and bring along ideas and things to share. So it might be you need to do this month to prepare. The other just couple of things that we found it useful for as well is last summer we did a holiday club online. So we set up a sort of a temporary group that just ran while we planned the holiday club. So the people helping to plan the holiday club were part of the WhatsApp group, and then the parents were also part of the group because the families contributed as well. So there was a lot of traffic going back and forth on that during the summer. Now that group is still there, it's still sitting there, it's just, I guess you'd call it dormant at the moment because we don't need it at the moment. But should we need it again next summer, if we did a holiday club, all the names are still there and we can just pick it up and run with that again, or include, you know, we can include other people that we want to include into it, or people might choose to drop out of it. So that's the other use. So as I say, I just find it a really convenient way to just send extra messages to people, just keep in touch, you know, and people perhaps message back and say, oh, sorry, we can't come this week, or we're looking forward to it. And it's just an extra channel of communication. So that's it from me, really.
Brilliant. Thank you, Emma. I'm just going to kind of introduce Nick now. He's from Langdon Hills, and he is going to share with us some innovative ways that they've been using WhatsApp in their church, particularly for fundraising. So over to you, Nick.
Good evening. Welcome to Langdon Hills Parish. As Sarah said, I'm Nick. I'm the kind of parish equivalent of the jack of all trades, master of none, commonly called in the Church of England the church warden here. And I'm going to, just tell you a little bit about the story of how we ended up using WhatsApp. about 3 days before the very first lockdown, we kind of scrambled a small group of us into this very room actually to begin to think about what we could do to keep a sort of sense of togetherness and to provide a chance for those brief moments that we were going to be in the lockdown. We thought it was possibly only going to last a couple of weeks and then we'd all be back to normal. So we needed to think of a very quick and very simple way that we could share information in the same sort of way that people would at, say, the church door on an average Sunday, for example. Those kind of quick, fleeting conversations which can actually mean so much to people. I've got to say, sitting here, I do feel like a complete imposter, particularly when I'm sitting here surrounded on this screen by the legends of people like James and his undoubtedly superb technical ability. In fact, I would actually have to say I'm a bit of a sort of techno-Luddite, and I'm certainly not in any way techno-savvy. In fact, I actually think the advent of the biro was probably quite a leap in technology for me. And I still find this whole thing, Zoom, WhatsApp, websites, Mailchimp, the whole thing, I still find it very sort of magical, mysterious, and if I'm absolutely honest, equally frustrating at times. I do not come from this from a technical background in any way. However, I do have teenage children, and I always think that's a real advantage when it comes to finding out about technology, because if anybody knows, they do. One of my teenage children happened to walk into this room actually on the proviso of actually stealing the biscuits, which is quite common in here, but actually suggested, well, what about WhatsApp? And that's really how we stumbled upon the whole thing of WhatsApp. And what it did is it struck us as being quite a simple way to very securely and privately send messages to the whole parish. As I say, that kind of at the door of the church kind of message. Now, obviously, we had to teach ourselves how to use it. And back then, all those many, many months ago, it was a very new thing for us. And it was a very new thing for the parish. So it involved lots and lots of phone calls. The 2 days before we actually went into lockdown, rushing around to people's houses and standing on their front doorstep, socially distanced, while we kind of shouted instructions on how to use mobile phones and what a WhatsApp was. And we did have a few minor mishaps when we first started using it. Somebody managed to share their Weight Watchers diet plan for the week with the whole group, for example, which was maybe slightly embarrassing from then. But anyway, so we did have a few teething problems. Once we did actually learn how to use it, the whole thing began to kind of evolve. It started with very sort of simple messages, you know, can somebody go and buy me a pound of carrots and some apples and some potatoes, or I'm stuck in here, or very simple sort of messages. And it kind of evolved. And one of the things that we realized quite early on was that it provided a way for us to be able to share in kind of real-time experiences, because WhatsApp has a kind of immediacy about it. As soon as you actually post a message or send a message, it kind of arrives with everybody in real time, which we actually thought was kind of useful. At the same time, we realized that people were beginning to, as lockdown went on, need their spirits raised a little bit. They were feeling frustrated that those people that were used to being very active and very involved in the church and very much kind of working together for a shared purpose in ministry and mission were kind of feeling a bit stuck indoors and feeling a bit useless. So they needed something to kind of bring them all together again, raise spirits, and feel that they were working together towards something. And that kind of led us quite neatly towards working together in a sense of compassion and doing something for charities or something for the wider community, something so that we weren't so insular focused, we'd started to think about other people. And so our first kind of madcap idea was actually a virtual coffee morning, which we used to raise money for St. Luke's Hospice here in Basildon. And the concept was really very, very simple. I'm a great believer in the old adage of KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Probably comes from my background in counter-terrorism, but it was a very simple idea. Basically what we did is we asked people to arrange a coffee morning in their house with members of their own family or those that they were in a bubble with at the time, and then to take a photograph and at a set time and on a set day, share that photograph with everybody else in the group so that we all could feel that albeit it was virtual, the world was still real, and albeit we were physically distanced, we were all still part of a together experience. And then when they shared that image, as soon as that image was posted onto the group, we sent them a link to the website where they could then do pretty much a one-click method to make a donation straight to the hospice itself. So for every time they posted an image of their coffee morning, they also made a £5 donation. And to be honest, it worked a bit like a kind of modern day virtual honesty box. We had no way of actually checking that they did it, but actually it went on to raise several £100s. So it was a really good thing, and people kind of felt that as they saw the money coming in as well during the morning, it kind of gave people that sense of togetherness. The second thing we did was in the beginning of the summer, and we decided we would do a virtual flower festival, again on a sort of similar lines really, but this time with the money coming into the parish. And basically what we did is we asked people that on their walks, while they were out walking or in their own gardens, obviously realising not everybody has a garden, to take a photograph of something that would lift spirits. That's all it had to be. Obviously, we were hoping it was going to be something of some wonderful and spectacular natural form, but it was really an image to just lift spirits. And then at 10 o'clock on a particular day, to begin posting those photographs and to fill the whole WhatsApp page with as many images as we could. And then when they did that, again, provided them with a link to our church website with the donate button so that they were then able to just make a donation to feel part of it. And the third thing that we did with regards to fundraising was over Advent, when we asked everybody in the parish over WhatsApp to decorate their front windows in their houses with an Advent theme, make a collage, a mural, a picture, anything really, just to decorate their front windows. One, to bring a little bit of joy and hope to everybody else in the community, but then also to take a photograph of it, to post that to the WhatsApp group. And because people would then sort of know who that photograph belonged to and would probably know their house, they could actually come up with almost a kind of route that when they were out for their walks during that day, they could actually go and visit other people's or walk past other people's windows and do a kind of Advent trail. We also posted onto the WhatsApp group a link to our YouTube page showing people how to make their Christingles. The videos were kind of a mix of success. The one that I did, for example, had most of the sweets eaten before we actually got to making the Christingle, but the intention was there anyway. But it showed people how to make the Christingle. They then made them. Again, they just photographed them, which was something we found that most people could do quite simply. They photographed them and then put them onto the WhatsApp group for everybody else to enjoy, sorry. And in doing that, we then asked them to make a donation off to the Christian Aid as well. So that actually raised about £1,500 actually. On our WhatsApp group at the moment, as of today, hot off the press, we have about 93 people on our main general sort of WhatsApp group. But we also have, as I think Emma said as well, we have lots of smaller WhatsApp groups that have kind of evolved from it. So we have the pastoral team manage one group where they manage to kind of keep an overview on what's being said on the bigger group. And then if people need maybe some pastoral group support, they can come and join onto the WhatsApp group for the pastoral team and receive a bit more support. We also have a prayer group that meets on WhatsApp, and all of our small home groups also all have their own WhatsApp groups as well, just so they can send those very simple few words of support and encouragement to each other during the average week. I'm going to shut up in a second, I promise, but I just wanted to finish with a sort of few lessons that I've learned. The first thing I would say is you must be very, very aware and scrupulous if you are admin of the group. Because as I think Sarah said at the very beginning, whatever is posted, the whole group can see. And therefore, if somebody does post something that's a little insensitive, you have to be very, very quick as an admin to diffuse that situation and to get on top of it very, very quickly. We have had a couple of incidents where people have inadvertently upset some other people on WhatsApp, and they've needed some very careful and very quick management. So I would say, make sure if you're the admin of the group, you really do keep a very careful eye on it. Social media never sleeps. And I really have learnt that over this past year. I am exhausted, as I'm sure so many other people are as well. You can't put an answer phone on necessarily. You can turn your notifications off, but like I say, you run the risk then of missing something. And I can guarantee the day you turn your notifications off is the day that somebody posts something on WhatsApp that you really wish you'd seen sooner. And the messages people do, for example, if you've got somebody who's particularly upset during the night, or in somebody who's suffering from insomnia, they will post at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. And there is, well, positive to that is that they feel they've been able to just express it and get it off their hearts, which is fantastic. The downside is that you may get disturbed or you may not pick it up until much later in the morning. So be aware. Also, I would say look for trends. It's very easy to post out lots and lots and lots of messages and actually swamp people with information overload. So what I actually did was started to look at when I posted messages, what times and days people were most likely to reply to them, or was it likely to generate a discussion? And I actually found Wednesday afternoons did, late afternoon, and I still don't actually know why, but to be honest, I don't really care. But what I do know is if I want to put out an important message or I want to create a discussion within the group, Wednesday afternoons, it seems to be seen more immediately and replied to in larger numbers. So that way you don't kind of bombard everybody every day. And the other thing I've really sort of learned, and I think I've learned all the way through this whole pandemic, is that all of these things are fantastic, but they are only tools in a toolbox. Each one of these things is one tool. Nothing will actually do everything. It just adds another tool to our ministry. It adds another tool to our mission. It adds another tool to our way to be able to reach people and to hold people together. Not one thing can do that on its own, and nor should it. So this is only one thing. It's also really important that all those tools link. We still will send a pastoral handwritten card to people. We will still send out postcards that people can put on their mantelpieces to remember us by, as well as WhatsApp messages. And hopefully once we're all back in church, we'll still be able to, you know, hug each other during the peace, for example. This won't replace anything. It is just another tool in the tree. And that's everything from me. So I'm going to hand over back to Sarah.
Well, that's really great to hear about what you're doing in your church. It's a really interesting talk from you and from Emma to say how they're using it with their ministry as well. I think now is time for questions. I don't know if I haven't seen any questions in the chat in particular regards to WhatsApp. One thing I just need to correct myself on is I said the age limit for WhatsApp is 13. It's actually 16, so it's just a slip of the tongue there. So, but yeah, happy to take any questions if anybody's got any.
So if you want to put anything in the chat, you can. I mean, in terms of timing, everyone, you are all like bang on it. We've come in, you know, we've got half hour to spare. So what I was going to ask is perhaps Tom could do an interpretive dance. No, I'm joking. No, we're going to, you know, we're drawing towards the end anyway. But if you do have any questions, just fire them out now. I'll put them in the chat. But you said, I don't know if you notice in your chat at the bottom there, James has put a few links in there to some of the things that he was talking about in terms of Mailchimp, a church near you, Squarespace, church pages, church edit, and Crystal hosting. So yeah, so if you are looking at building a website or wondering where you need to start with any of that stuff, check out those links, contact James. Sorry, yeah, go on, mate. Yeah.
I was going to say, Alan, I'm just going to say very quickly, just what reminded me was when Nick was talking about what people are thinking about their questions. He was talking about obviously how you can use WhatsApp in your churches. One of the ways our church does it is we have a Saturday morning prayer team who regularly meet on Zoom at the moment. But with that group, there's a WhatsApp group as well. And you can guarantee normally during the day or during the week, there'll be someone who's needing prayer during the day, for example, and they'll post into that group, and also it pings up, and straight away you kind of know that all of a sudden all these people are actually praying. They're dropping things and stuff, and it's popped up on their phones and they're praying, and the messages will go. You'll see people praying and stuff. So it's another way of using WhatsApp to reach. Obviously, people might have prayer chains and stuff within their churches as well. But actually, WhatsApp's a very, like you said, instant way. If something's happened, I know that there was someone who within our church and stuff who ended up going to hospital quite quickly, and they put it in the WhatsApp group, and everyone was was praying straight away for this person stuff. And actually, it's a great tool to use. So again, just kind of highlight what Nick was saying. Sorry.
No, that's great. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, and I'll reiterate that as well. I'm based currently at the same church where Emma is, and our little WhatsApp group is great. We have people posting pictures of their teddy bears skiing and doing all kinds of stuff. It just cheers people up as well. And just like James was saying, you know, when people need prayer, it's like an instant pop it on there. It's just, in some ways, we can think about all this technology, all the digital stuff as being really impersonal. And, you know, we all want to be together, which we do, which is really important as well. But at the same time, you know, this is the type of connection that people need, whether it's people in our churches who are 80s in their 90s and they still need a letter through the door or an email, or, you know, younger people. We're just doing whatever we can right now to connect and be the body of Christ. And WhatsApp is just another tool where we can make it a bit more personal. So don't write it off if you're thinking it's just another thing to do. So if there's no questions or anything like that, then we can start drawing it to a close, really. But I just wanted to highlight that in 2 weeks' time, we've got our last webinar of ones that we've planned so far. We're hoping to get together and discuss some future ones, and just to encourage anyone on this particular group that if you've got any feedback or things that you like, you know, you haven't covered that we'd really like to know more about, do fire an email to the communications team, to Tom or to Sarah or me or Jay already, just to you know, give us some insight into what you're thinking and what you'd actually really like to hear about. And then that said, the last session on the 3rd of March, which is at the same time, I believe, at 7 o'clock. It's actually more of a theological kind of getting a little bit meaty with a guy called Reverend Dr. Pete Phillips. He's a Methodist minister, but he's also a research fellow based at Durham University, part-time, and they're just beginning to shift, and they run a master's degree in digital theology. So they're really kind of linking up the scripture and all the, you know, this kind of theological thought around church and how we do church, how we are church, how we love our neighbour, those kind of things, you know, in the digital age that we live in. Because it, you know, it didn't start last March. We've been in this for a number of decades now, and it's only building momentum. So and he's going to come and speak to us. He's also, Pete is also the head of digital at Premiere Radio. I don't know if you know, or you know Premiere. They do a load of great content nationally and internationally, and he heads up their digital department. So he's going to be talking to us about hybrid church, this kind of connection point between the physical, how we still engage with people, but also how we, you know, how we're incarnational, how we're present online to a digital natives, young people, and, you know, it, rather than one or the other, he's going to be talking about how the future might look like to blend these things together. So, and if you are coming along, do spread the word. He wrote this book. It's called Missio Dei. It's called Missio Dei in a Digital Age, all about being our authentic selves and being the image of God and being the presence of God online to a brand new generation. So that's going to be a really good session. So I really do encourage you to come along to that on the 3rd of March. If you want to sign up in a similar way, go onto the website and you can follow the link and register. Hopefully that'll be a good one. So after 2 things in the chat there, that might just be. Oh, we go. Yes. So Sarah's pointing you towards the online church hub there on the Chelmsford Diocesan website. So if you want to go and check, there's loads of information, really good, helpful information on there, and some links to some wider resources. And then Tom's just put the email address if you've got any questions, any feedback, web@chelmsford.anglican.org. So yeah, thanks everybody. Is there anything you want to add, Tom, James, Sarah?
I think so, Alan. I think you've covered it all.
Smashing. All right, well then I will bid everyone a good night, and hopefully we'll see you soon. God bless everyone.